All right, hello everyone. Hope everyone can hear me right now. Thank you so much for waiting. I know we were starting just a little bit late today, but as I always say, better late than never. I was actually just getting up a video, and it's on the health benefits of barley. So I think you guys are going to find that especially important just because it relates to our topic just a little bit. And again, our topic today is preventing and healing leaky gut syndrome. And I think, again, that's going to be another important topic that we can discuss today because, as we mentioned before, with heart disease, with other sorts of chronic diseases, we're starting to see the importance of digestive health. And that can be in relation to a number of different health benefits and things along that nature. So if you guys can hear me, let me know in chat. It's always nice to know that I can be heard. And thank you so much for the thumbs up so far. And again, I hope everyone's doing good, and I'm really excited for this topic. Again, leaky gut syndrome. We're seeing that it's on the rise. Again, it has to deal with, we'll get into all this as we get into the discussion. But we know that it's on the rise. We know that there can be a decrease in the absorption of nutrients, minerals, vitamins, things of that nature. But we also know that there can be an increase in certain toxins and waste that aren't getting removed from the body as well. So when we talk about leaky gut syndrome, a lot of the times you'll hear a little bit about there's one important topic or one important word that we should be kind of focusing on is tight junctions. And tight junctions are just little sort of micro holes within the gut where you're going to start to get that leak, and that's why it's called leaky gut syndrome, of vital nutrients, vital nutrition that's going to be leaking through the intestines and through the gut itself. And again, if we're getting that sort of leak through the gut health and through the gut and digestive system, again, we're not going to be efficiently reducing toxins and waste through that process of digestion as well. So again, hopefully everyone can hear me. I see the thumbs are continuing to go up. If someone can just let me know in chat that you can actually hear me, that would be greatly appreciated. I saw Dara was in here already. If there's anyone else in here, please let me know, and then we'll get right into the leaky gut syndrome discussion. And again, as we're finding out more and more through the studies, we see just how important proper digestion is. It's often referred to, so for gut health, it's often referred to our second brain. So if we're not getting an increase, all right, in digestive health, if we're dealing with digestive ailments, and one of the big ones for today is leaky gut syndrome. So we want to be focusing on how we can prevent it and actually heal it. All right? If we're not focusing on that, then our digestive health is going to be taking a step back. So we want to make sure that we're maximizing digestive health because, again, that's going to be how we're increasing the absorption of nutrients. That's how we're going to improve things like regularity, reducing constipation, and then just overall increasing digestive health and reducing digestive ailments. And the better our digestive system is, again, that can have benefits for a number of reasons. And thank you, Marshall. I'm glad you can hear me. Thank you for pointing that out. And again, like I said, if you're increasing digestive health, that can help to reduce other chronic diseases. A lot of it can be tied back to, even cognitive health, heart health, even boosting our immune system. So I think if we're really focusing on digestive health, I think one of the ones that we're going to want to be preventing is leaky gut syndrome. Now, we should also point out there has been some controversy. Is leaky gut syndrome a real thing? Does it actually exist? Are there nutrients that are escaping the intestines, escaping through the gut, where we're not actually absorbing these nutrients? And what we see through numerous studies right now is that there actually is. And so that's why we need to really focus on it, because we know more and more, just based on diet, based on lifestyle, digestive health is on the decline. And that's why you're seeing an increase in things like irregularity, constipation, bloating, leaky gut syndrome, irritable bowel syndrome, things like that, more sensitivities to foods. So again, just this kind of putting it all into perspective, why we want to kind of focus on digestive health today, and in particular, prevent and heal leaky gut syndrome. All right, guys, so think about, you'll hear me say it throughout the discussion, tight junctions, those are going to be those little micro holes where we're going to be having the escape of micronutrients. And you guys have heard from, in all my chats pretty much, how we really want to be focusing on micronutrient dense foods. Again, that's your vitamins, that's your minerals, that's potassium, manganese, magnesium, vitamin C, all of those important things that are going to be increasing our health overall. So you guys let me know if anyone's dealing specifically with leaky gut syndrome or with digestive issues at all. Please let me know in chat and we can address those kind of one-on-one. But I'm just going to sort of, as you guys know, I like to go on my rants and go on to the discussions. But always make sure, I love the engagement. Make sure you're giving me some feedback as well. And thank you so much, Marshall. I appreciate that. And as always, guys, let me know where you're listening from. And again, if anyone else can hear me, please let me know as well. So again, today what we want to do, we've already kind of talked a little bit about what leaky gut syndrome is. And now let's talk about what the causes of leaky gut syndrome is. All right, so you'll hear me also talk about intestinal permeability. All right, that's another big one. All right, so we want to increase, all right, or decrease, sorry, with leaky gut syndrome, we're increasing intestinal permeability, all right? And so when I'm referring to that, we're talking about an increase in the condition of where bacteria and toxins are leaking through the intestinal wall. So a lot of the times when you're talking about leaky gut syndrome, it's that leak or intestinal permeability where bacteria and toxins are leaking through the intestinal wall. And of course, we don't want that, because through digestion and through proper digestion, all right, we want the elimination of bacteria and toxins and wastes through that process. All right, so now we're starting to see more and more mainstream medical professionals recognizing leaky gut syndrome as a real condition. I told you guys before that there was some controversy to that, but now we're seeing more and more within the last, 3, 5, even 10 years where we're actually recognizing that as a real condition. All right, and that's backed up through not only experience of certain people. It can lead to fatigue. It can lead to deficiencies in certain vitamins and minerals, but it can also lead to certain health problems. Like I said, if we're not having proper digestion and good digestive health, again, I talked a little bit about we can be increasing chronic diseases. I already mentioned heart disease. I already mentioned immune system decrease. All right, and we want to make sure that we're keeping that healthy. All right, so let's talk a little bit about some foods, all right, because we already know the importance of gut health. All right, if we don't have proper gut health, then we might be dealing with symptoms of bloating, irregularity. Again, inflammatory bowel disease is way up, so we want to make sure that we're decreasing that, because even with inflammatory bowel diseases, guys, you're going to be getting things like an increase in Crohn's disease. Maybe you know someone with Crohn's disease. Maybe you have a friend with Crohn's disease. Maybe you might be dealing with Crohn's disease. So let me know in chat if you're dealing with any of that, any of those certain digestive ailments. So that would be great. And again, I see we have quite a few people in here. Again, guys, let me know. Engage with me here as we're discussing, because I would love to know exactly where you guys are listening from and if you are actually dealing with any of these digestive-related ailments. So again, our big topic for today is how do we prevent leaky gut syndrome and how can we heal leaky gut syndrome? Because there are foods that we're going to want to avoid and there's foods that we're going to want to add into our diet. All right, and there's really specific ones. I'm going to give you guys some good ones that we can definitely focus on. And good morning, by the way. We're starting a little bit earlier, I know, and we're on a Saturday today. But I don't think I'll be able to get on tomorrow. I might. If I can, then I'll definitely be on for you guys. But if I can't get on there, I wanted to make sure that I got on this weekend. That way I could talk to you guys specifically. So let's talk about a little bit of some causes of leaky gut syndrome, guys. So what are some causes of leaky gut syndrome? From Dallas. All right, great, Marshall. Thank you for letting me know. Texas, Dallas, Texas there, you've had leaky gut syndrome before. Do you still have it, Marshall, or has it kind of cleared up for you? Let me know. And thank you so much for the engagement, Marshall. I really appreciate it. And if anyone else has been dealing with leaky gut syndrome before, please let me know in chat. And as Marshall is kind of pointing out, going back to my point where before there was a little bit of, is it something that's real? Is there actually something called leaky gut syndrome? And yes, we are finding through the literature that there is definitely something with leaky gut syndrome, and there's symptoms, and a lot of them are going to be fatigue and everything of that nature. We'll get into all of that. Rupal, thank you so much. I appreciate you. Thank you so much for coming into chat. Just like everyone else is. Great to see you again, Rupal. That's awesome, Marshall. Maybe as we go through, you can talk a little bit about what helped clear that up for you. Julian, great to have you in chat. Thank you so much, guys. Again, loving the engagement. Thank you so much. So let's talk a little bit about the causes of leaky gut syndrome, because as I stated from the beginning, we know that leaky gut syndrome is on the rise. All right, so when we have leaky gut syndrome on the rise, we know that digestive health and proper digestion is on the decrease, because we're not eliminating bad bacteria, we're not eliminating toxins and waste, and that's the whole process and the whole goal of healthy digestion. So we know that it's increasing. All right, and we already know intestinal permeability through a number of different research papers, a bunch of different literature. And again, I don't handpick these. We already know that there's a bunch of literature out there that sees intestinal permeability. And again, that's just the leaking of nutrition through the intestinal wall is on the increase, guys. So let's talk about a little bit about factors that are going to play a role in increasing intestinal permeability. And again, that goes hand in hand with leaky gut syndrome, guys. Never heard of leaky gut syndrome. Sounds interesting. Great. UK here. Thanks, Rupal. You two here to support you. Well, thank you very much, Rupal. I appreciate the support. Thank you very much. Now let's talk again. We'll get into some of the factors. One of the biggest ones, and you guys will hear me say this all the time, all right, one of the worst things for our overall health, it doesn't matter if it has to do with cholesterol, which we talked about, heart health, which we talked about. One of the other ones was even osteoporosis. Again, if you're consuming an excess of sugar, all right, it's going to have horrible health benefits for you in a number of different ways, and one of them is going to be through digestion. So if we're having excess sugar, it's going to increase the risk of leaky gut syndrome, but also increase the risk of certain digestive ailments as well, one of them being leaky gut syndrome, especially kind of relating it back to our topic today. Now another one, so first one, excessive sugar. Make sure that we're consuming sugar in moderation or having as little sugar as you can. And again, we're talking about refined sugar, that white sugar. We're not talking so much about fructose and glucose and things of that nature. Just keep in mind, if you're eating high levels of fructose and glucose, all right, they're both combined to create sucralose. So keep that in mind, guys. All right, for sure. Yes, veggies can definitely help. We'll get into that as well. There's going to be a couple extra ones here. We know usually, Marshall, that veggies are going to be very important. Again, you're going to see it when I talk about fiber, probiotics, things of that nature. Okay, Darlene, bone broth can also be good for it. All right, and there's certain things in bone broth which are going to be helping increase digestive health. So thanks for pointing that out, guys, and we're going to get into all of that as we get into the foods that are going to help prevent and heal leaky gut syndrome. Right now, I just want to talk a little bit about some of the factors and some of the foods that are going to contribute to leaky gut syndrome. The first being excess sugar. Again, try to limit that as best as possible. Now, the second one, all right, is going to be excess alcohol intake. We've talked about this a little bit before. If we're drinking alcohol into excess, then we're going to be increasing intestinal permeability, and that's through numerous studies. And again, guys, just to point out, when I say intestinal permeability, all I'm talking about is micronutrients leaking through the intestinal wall. decreasing that. All right, so we're not absorbing the micronutrients that we want to, and we need to absorb those micronutrients because that's going to increase our overall health. All right, so first being excess sugar, the second being excess alcohol intake, and the next one is going to be nutrient deficiencies. That's probably the next biggest one. It's probably up there with excess alcohol and even sugar. If we're not getting enough micronutrients, guys, it's only going to lead to a decrease in digestive health and sort of lead into leaky gut syndrome and increase the risk of leaky gut syndrome. Bone broth, it leads to psoriasis. Yes, Tyrant, absolutely. Absolutely, you can definitely get that. Probiotics, good for you, Marshall. I think everyone should be eating probiotics. Like I said, I've said this before in chats, if I was to recommend, let's say my top three supplements. All right, and again, that doesn't mean you can't take any other supplements, but I think if I was going to recommend my top three, and take this as you will, again, this is just my own personal opinion, but you would want to start out with a multivitamin, fish oil, and a probiotic. All right, that's going to give you your best bang for your buck. The other ones you can get a little bit easier through foods, through eating healthy. Even with probiotics and things like that, you're going to be able to get it. All right, but a probiotic supplement, there's nothing wrong with taking that. And again, that's only going to increase digestive health. And that's the whole point for the discussion today. All right, increasing digestive health, reducing the risk, and preventing leaky gut syndrome, which is, of course, a digestive ailment. Okay, now I see Rupal has brought up yogurts. Yes, yogurts for probiotics, guys. And again, we're going to get into this, but let's just address it now since we're talking about it, and Rupal brought up a good point. All right, so for probiotics, yogurts is a great one. If you're going to eat yogurt, there's one thing I would suggest to you guys. Try to eat yogurt without added sugar. Try to eat plain yogurt if you can. And even more, maybe a Greek yogurt, even a cottage cheese would be very nice. Because if you're eating that yogurt with the excess sugar brought in, then you're taking away all the benefits of those probiotics. And remember, it has to be active bacterial cultures in those yogurts. So if you're eating plain, that's one of the best ways to get it. And again, you're sort of maxing out your potential of getting in those probiotics if you aren't eating it with sugar, all right, or excess sugar or preservatives and all that other stuff. Excellent. So yeah, you guys are kind of on the same page as me. All right, multivitamins, your cod liver oil, things of that nature. I think that's all great. Those would be the three that I would recommend. Those have been the three that I've been recommending for a little while now. All right, I think that's great. So again, let's just finish off with things that are going to lead, all right, or help lead to, or sort of help increase the risk of developing leaky gut syndrome and just overall digestive issues from there. And great comments so far, guys. Thank you so much for the engagement. So we know excess sugar, we know excess alcohol, we know nutrient deficiencies. If we're talking about nutrient deficiencies, one of the biggest ones is going to be zinc because that's going to increase intestinal permeability. And the other one is going to be vitamin D. Now, we talked in other streams, so if you want to go back and listen to a few of the other ones, we talked specifically about foods, especially with osteoporosis, foods that are high in vitamin D and good ways to get vitamin D into your diet, and then foods that are high in zinc. So if we're increasing those, we're doing a good job of decreasing intestinal permeability and decreasing the risk of leaky gut syndrome. So nutrient deficiencies, guys, as I've pointed out in numerous talks, we need to make sure that we're getting a well-rounded, well-balanced diet so that we're not having to deal with nutrient deficiencies. Because if we are, again, that's only going to hurt our digestive health and only lead or increase the risk of leaky gut syndrome. It's not going to help prevent for sure. Now let's just talk about some of the other ones, guys. There's two more that I want to talk to you about before I get into specific foods. Now just let me get a couple of these questions here. I was told years ago a yogurt a day is excellent for you, especially your gut. That's awesome, Rupal. I agree. It can be yogurt. It can be a couple, other types of food. If you're Sonia, thank you so much for your question. Great to see you in chat. What if you're lactose intolerant. That's a great point. Okay, so if you're lactose intolerant, that doesn't mean that you can't get probiotics. All right, one good one will be sauerkraut. Another good one will be kimchi. All right, and even for prebiotics. Now, the nice thing with prebiotics, we can distinguish from probiotics and prebiotics. You're going to want to eat the prebiotics first and then go with your probiotics. Since you brought up prebiotics, all right, think about prebiotics as, prebiotic fiber, all right, where it can pass through the small intestine and go undigested, all right. That's the big thing with prebiotics, guys. And the reason why that's so important is because it's going to act as food for good bacteria. And that's going to help that create an environment where good bacteria can thrive in the gut and through the intestines. When I say gut, guys, I'm not just talking about the stomach. We're talking about the whole digestive tract here. So prebiotic fiber, all right, it's going to pass through the small intestine. It's not going to be digested. It's going to act as food for good bacteria in the gut or digestive tract. So it actually reaches the large colon, passes through the intestines, which is nice. Now for prebiotics, if you are lactose intolerant, let's just talk about that for a second, Sonia, since you brought up a good point. There might be some other people who don't eat dairy, who are lactose intolerant. All right, another easy way of getting it is there's going to be a lot of prebiotics found in a lot of fruits and vegetables. If you're eating dark leafy green vegetables, you're going to get a good amount of prebiotics in there. All right, the reason for that is super high in fiber. All right, stick to complex carbohydrates like beans, rice, oats, barley, which I made a video on today, so you might want to watch that barley video. And then a lot of the times you're going to get resistant starch in those types of foods. Now, don't forget, another good source of resistant starch is going to be more unripe, sort of green bananas. They don't have to be, super green. They can just be a little bit more unripe. All right, so not super yellow or definitely not black spots on it. You're still going to get a nice fiber with that. It's going to be called pectin, but you really want to focus on that resistant starch. So a little bit more unripe bananas. That's going to be a great prebiotic for you. And again, we're going to get more and more into this as we go on. So I hope that helps for you, Sonia. Tyrant, best do intermittent fasting. Okay, now just let me know, for intermittent fasting, are you talking about for gut health overall or just as a healthy diet? Because it's interesting you bring up intermittent fasting. I think I talk about either keto or intermittent fasting on almost all my discussions and pretty much on a daily basis with certain clients that I work with. So just let me know what you mean by that, and then we can break that down just a little bit. But intermittent fasting, of course, very, very popular these days. Now, another one, two important ones that can help play a role in increasing the risk of leaky gut syndrome. One is going to be inflammation, more specifically chronic inflammation, guys, and that's throughout the entire body. All right, so if we're dealing with chronic inflammation, all right, that can help lead and contribute to leaky gut syndrome. All right, it's going to be creating damage. If you have chronic inflammation, you're going to have more free radicals. It can lead to oxidative stress. Of course, that's going to damage, all right, our digestive system. All right, so we want to get rid of that chronic inflammation. One thing that you can do is drink water, but even more importantly, eat those high micronutrient dense foods and foods that are high in antioxidants. Again, that can come from fruits and vegetables, super high in antioxidants. One of my favorite is berries. Again, some of the highest antioxidant capacity out of any other foods, and they're low in calories and very high in micronutrients. So something like blueberries, broccoli, even eggplant, all right, because you get those special anthocyanin antioxidants as well, which I think is just tremendous. You guys have heard me go on and on about anthocyanin antioxidants, super powerful and super unique, but it has to come from red, bluish type foods like grapes and eggplant. Barupo, green bananas are really nice boiled. Yes, absolutely. A bit or steamed, yes. And that's right. And you know what, guys? Give it a try. It's not for everyone. All right. Green bananas are nice, but of course, we know it's not for everyone. But as Rupal points out, you would need to boil them, all right? Or often you would need to, because they are going to be fairly hard. They're not going to be like a ripe banana where you can just bite into it and enjoy it, all right? A lot of the times you will want to boil it. And you'll find lots of videos on my channel, the Foods for Health channel, where I talk about boiling green bananas. I think I have one pretty popular video that talks about consuming or at least boiling 2 bananas a day. You don't have to eat those 2 bananas in a day. You can spread it out in 2 different days, but the health benefits of boiling green bananas, we have definitely talked about that on the channel, so I 100% agree with Rupal. That's a great way to get the resistant starch, guys. You can even make a tea out of it. All right, now, the tea, you're not going to get quite as much of the resistant starch and not quite as much as the fiber, but you are going to get a little bit of it. It's going to increase it just a bit. Just make sure you're doing it with the peels on. All right, guys, so if you are going to boil it and make a tea out of it, make sure that you're keeping the peels on, so keep the skins on. That's going to allow you to get that resistant starch a little bit easier. Okay, now last thing, we know inflammation, chronic inflammation can help lead to leaky gut syndrome. We see this again in numerous studies. The last thing I want to point out to you, so again, this is more lifestyle type stuff, all right? Lifestyle in the way we're eating, all right? But here's a big lifestyle one for you guys. And you guys always know that I like to point out some lifestyle benefits. The other one that can help lead to leaky gut syndrome, and it might come as a surprise to some people, maybe not, but we know the negative effects that stress can have on our body. And it's becoming more and more adamant as the months, years go on. Right now, the last year and a half, we have seen a tremendous increase in stress, anxiety, things of that nature. And again, we don't fault anyone for that. We've been living in a time right now, the last year and a half, where it's been totally different. It's kind of shaking up the world right now. But if we're having an increase in chronic stress and chronic anxiety, we see through, again, studies, an increase in gastrointestinal disorders. One of them, all right, maybe the most common one right now might be irritable bowel syndrome, but very, very close is going to be leaky gut. So stress, anxiety, all right, that's only going to hurt your overall health when it comes to digestion, all right? We're not getting proper digestion. Digestion's not as efficient. So again, if it's not as efficient, you're not going to be eliminating those waste, toxins, and bacteria. So it's only going to increase the risk of leaky gut syndrome. And again, reduce the risk of absorbing those micronutrients, guys. So if you are dealing with stress, if you are dealing with anxiety, I know it's tough right now. The one thing I would maybe point out, try to eat as clean as possible. So increase your vegetables, fruits, complex carbohydrates, get good healthy fats in there, which we've had a ton of discussions on. And then try to get a little bit of movement. Remember, I don't call exercise, I don't always call it exercise or having to do high intensity exercise. If you're just getting good movement a couple times a week, remember we shoot for 150 minutes per week. If you can do that, that's going to help greatly in reducing stress and anxiety. That can be walks, it can be resistance band training, or if you go to the gym, it can also be that as well. But just remember, it doesn't have to be high intensity. Okay, guys? So any other questions? Just let me know, guys. And if anyone's here that just came into chat, I see 21 thumbs up already. I'm not sure exactly how long we've been going for. It's not telling me right now. But, I don't think we've been going for quite 21 minutes, maybe just over. But thank you so much, guys, for all the thumbs up. I really, really appreciate the support. So again, guys, that's going to be some of the most and biggest leading factors that are going to play a role in developing leaky gut syndrome. We want to stay away from that. Okay, because again, when we're dealing with this sort of factors, all right, those negative factors, we know if we're not getting proper digestion, it's only going to lead to those chronic diseases. We've talked about them a little bit, all right. Some of them, which we see in studies, is going to be diabetes, all right? An increase in the risk of developing diabetes, an increase in the risk of developing heart disease, all right? Another one is going to be a weakened or compromised immune system, especially if you're dealing with stress and anxiety, all right? A lot of the times people who are dealing with that, can end up with cold, flu-like symptoms, things of that nature, especially when you add it in with sugar and with alcohol intake. Okay, guys. Now another one is celiac disease. All right. Celiac disease, but especially if you have a sensitivity to gluten, all right, and usually more of a severe sensitivity to gluten. Again, that's going to increase intestinal permeability. So keep that in mind. The last one is going to be maybe Crohn's disease. Again, that's if you're dealing with chronic inflammation throughout the intestinal tract. So again, we're not talking about just the gut, so just the stomach. All right, inflammation throughout the intestinal tract. And we see this again in numerous studies. The last one that I'll point out is an increase in irritable bowel syndrome. Irritable bowel syndrome might be one of the other biggest ones that we need to talk about. It might be one that I'm probably going to do a chat on, because just like leaky gut syndrome is majorly on the rise, irritable bowel syndrome is also on the rise as well. And that's just from a decrease in digestive health. All right, so keep that in mind, guys. All right, so we don't want to be dealing with that. We want to have healthy digestion where we're eliminating bacteria. And again, that's bad bacteria, because there is good bacteria. We already know probiotics, prebiotics, but we want to get rid of bad bacteria, toxins, and waste, guys. Okay, let me just catch up on some of the chat here. Wheat and lectins are the biggest contributors of leaky gut. Ian, I would agree. Especially, I would agree to the extent that if you have a sensitivity to gluten, then they can be one of the biggest contributors of leaky gut syndrome, because you have a major sensitivity to gluten. So of course, that's going to be what we already talked about, increasing inflammation, which we don't want to, because again, increased chronic inflammation is going to only increase the risk of developing leaky gut syndrome and actually contribute to leaky gut syndrome. All right. And it's also just going to lead to poor gut health. All right. So if we have poor gut health, you're going to be decreasing good bacteria in the body. You're going to be decreasing good bacteria throughout the digestive tract. It could even maybe possibly lead to a growth, overall growth of yeast within the digestive tract. So to your point here, Ian, wheat and lectins being the biggest contributor of leaky gut, especially if you have a sensitivity to gluten. All right, 100% agree with that. All right, it can definitely be one of the biggest, because you already come in with not only a sensitivity to gluten, but major increase in inflammation, chronic inflammation at that. Right, but also an increase in poor gut health, perhaps nutrient deficiencies, and maybe yeast overgrowth if we're not careful. All right, guys, so thank you so much. We got 24 thumbs up. You guys are crushing it right now. Thank you so much. And again, if you're just getting in here, let me know where you guys are listening from. It's always great for you to share and for me to listen. I love hearing where you guys are listening from. Again, it's from people are all over the world listening to this right now, so it's always great to hear. Now let's talk a little bit about foods that can promote good gut health, guys. And again, the reason why we're talking about good gut health, it's the same thing when we talk about good, where we're trying to prevent heart disease. We want a healthy heart, because as I told you guys before, at least a quarter of the world, all right, so keep that in mind, 25% and rising, so it's getting somewhere around 30% right now, are going to be dealing with some sort of complication when it comes to heart disease. Now, that could be a number of risk factors. It could be inflammation. It could be high cholesterol, high blood pressure, atherosclerosis, plaque buildup, hardening of the arteries, all of that type of stuff. All right. The same thing with digestion. We're seeing a decrease in digestive health, and the reason for that is, all right, it's very easy. We're eating a lot more fast foods, all right, so nutrient devoid foods, all right, low fiber foods, and then also preservatives, foods that are very high in preservatives. That's only going to decrease digestive health, guys. And when you're doing that, again, you're going to have a decrease in fiber. And fiber is one of the main things that we want to focus on here today. NE Florida. Thank you, Darlene. Hello from Florida. Thank you for letting me know. Growth of healthy. Yeah, exactly, Rupal, and that's exactly what we've been talking about. And I'm going to get into some of those foods, but exactly what I've been talking about right now. If you want to reduce leaky gut syndrome, all right, you need to have healthy gut bacteria. We've already listed a number of probiotics, all right, and prebiotics, all right. So I already mentioned fruits and vegetables if you don't eat dairy, because I believe it was Sonia who was lactose intolerant and not eating dairy. All right, you can get those probiotics and prebiotics from a number of different foods. All right, again, like I said, fruits, vegetables, all right, and then also fermented foods and things of that nature. And if you're not enjoying any of those foods, another easy one is just probiotic supplement. All right, and I see you there, kimchi, sauerkraut, as I mentioned. Thank you, Rupal. Absolutely. So let's talk a little bit about the foods that are going to promote good gut health, guys. We know the ones that we want to stay away from. So the ones that we're going to want to limit. So right now we've already gone over what leaky gut syndrome is. All right, why it's so important to discuss, because we know digestive health, our digestive system is our second brain, and we see more and more studies coming out that are suggesting this. So it's very, very important that we have proper, efficient, and healthy digestive system. So we also talked about the foods that we're going to want to stay away from that can contribute to leaky gut syndrome. So let's get right into it here, guys. What are some foods that are going to help promote good gut health? All right. One of the biggest ones, which I've already mentioned, all right, probably the most important one, is high fiber foods. All right, high fiber foods. Here's why. All right, we already talked a little bit about the resistant starch, all right, but we talked a little bit about prebiotics. Let's talk about high fiber foods. Why are high fiber foods so important? Well, one, they're going to feed healthy bacteria in the gut. Okay, so that's going to help eliminate toxins. That's going to help eliminate bad bacteria. All right, and so if we're doing that, that's going to help reduce leaky gut syndrome and help increase the elimination of bacteria, the elimination of toxins and waste. So we need fiber in our diet if we want to increase overall digestive health. So that's a huge one for us, guys. And fiber, both insoluble and soluble fiber. I would lean towards more of the insoluble fiber, but I would also go with any dietary fiber. All right, and remember, there's multiple. There's insoluble, there's soluble, you can get resistant starch, you can get pectin, things of that nature. All right, so keep that in mind also, guys. Let me just catch up on some of the comments here, because you guys are leaving some great comments. I just want to make sure that that I'm not missing any here. They're going nice and fast. My husband has been feeling bloated for a lot for the past few months. He's awaiting results from a blood test for celiac. Yes, and again, that can be one of the sort of disorders that you can get from leaky gut syndrome. Things: no abdominal pain, no bloating. Should he increase probiotics? Sonia, that's going to be something that you'll want to talk to your doctor about. He's waiting for results from a blood test. I'm sure once those tests come back, it'll give him a really good sort of idea of where he's at and what can help. When it comes to probiotics, guys, depending, and again, Sonia, I don't know his specific situation. I don't know what his diet is right now. If he's eating high probiotic foods, maybe if he's supplementing. I will say this, and I'll go back to what I said before. If I was to recommend 3 supplements, it would be multivitamin, it would be fish oil, so omega-3s and things of that nature, fish oil in general, great joint health, things of that nature again, and then a probiotic. So, if he's dealing with bloating and things of that nature, probiotics can help, but let's wait back from the test, because again, I'm not coming at this from a doctor's perspective. All right, I'm coming at this from someone who's researched these for the last 10 years, someone who has experience working with people who are dealing with digestive issues. But I think once he gets those blood tests back, if it is celiac, then you're going to want to do and eat a certain diet to help combat that. But should he increase probiotics? Let's wait back for those tests. But again, if you're not getting good probiotics right now, then you probably will want to look into increasing them. But again, that will be a discussion with your medical practitioner, just because they know his exact situation. So thank you for bringing that up. Now again, let's talk about some of the foods here, guys. I'm going to create a little bit of an umbrella. All right, but again, as you guys always know, I like to point out the best of the best. So I don't just throw out, like a lot of people will throw out berries. You guys have heard me say this before, berries. But not every berry is made the same. You would not compare blueberries to huckleberries or to cranberries. They're just not in the same category. Blueberries are a superfood. All right, a tremendous superfood that you're almost going to want to eat on a daily basis. It can be in a small amount or at least every other day, just because blueberries are super high in antioxidants, super low in calories, and super micronutrient dense. And that's only, that's only getting to the surface of it. There's so many other benefits. The micronutrients that you're going to find in blueberries aren't found in a lot of other foods, like when we talk about vitamin K and things of that nature. So one of the ones I would first start with, guys, if we're trying to reduce and prevent and heal leaky gut syndrome, you're going to want to start and think about foods that are rich in beneficial gut bacteria, which we've already talked about, and as Sonia brought up, good probiotics. That's the most important thing. Again, because if we're having bad gut bacteria, I've already mentioned this as well. All right, it can lead to chronic inflammation, heart disease, even possibly type 2 diabetes. Now, does that mean that it's going to happen for sure? No, but you are going to increase the risk factors of those chronic diseases. So keep that in mind, guys. So what are some of the foods? Let's get right into it. You're welcome, Sonia. My pleasure. Thank you for asking the question. Marshall, you love blueberries? Awesome. Blueberries are some of my favorite foods, not just fruit or anything of that nature, but blueberries are one of my favorites. It just has so many health benefits, and like I said, it's a true superfood. Some of the people, like I mentioned before, will include a list of like 76 I've seen before, or 100 superfoods. Again, I'm not a huge fan of that because you're only diluting the list of superfoods. All right, how many superfoods are there? Once we get to 99 and 100, are they really truly superfoods, or are we just throwing them in, because they sound good and they might be a little bit high in micronutrients? It's hard to compare number 3 to number 100, but blueberries certainly a great superfood. So again, let's start with the vegetables, guys. If you're lactose intolerant, or if you're not eating dairy, because dairy is an easy way to get the probiotics, those live active bacterial cultures, one nice way of including that into your diet is just by adding vegetables. And it doesn't have to be dark leafy green vegetables or cruciferous vegetables. You guys hear that from time and time again. All right, but it does not have to be. What you can do, all right, you can eat a number of different vegetables. I think the more vegetables you're eating, the better. And that can come from a number of different sources. When you're thinking about vegetables and preventing leaky gut syndrome and helping to heal leaky gut syndrome and just increasing digestive health overall, think about colors. All right, so it's not just dark leafy green vegetables, all right, because included in the list, you can, yes, get broccoli, Brussels sprouts, even cabbage, because that's going to be a nice probiotic for you guys. But don't underestimate things like ginger and mushrooms, all right, and carrots, all right, which of course aren't green. Even beets, all right, purple, orange, white with your mushrooms, things like that. Ginger, all right, which is sort of like a yellowish tinge to it, yellowish brown. So, and again, that's a herb, but you can add that in there with the vegetable list as well. Again, you can't go wrong with the dark leafy green vegetables. With that said, just make sure you're thinking about the different types of colors, because you're getting beneficial bacteria from all of these different foods. All right, so let's just keep it simple. I would go with, maybe if I was going to do a top 3, I would go with broccoli, I would go with cabbage, and then I would go with something like a spinach, or maybe even mushrooms, because those are going to be very healthy for our overall digestive system and for gut health. All right, so those are the 3 that I'm going to want you guys to stick with. All right, so very good. So we have vegetables. Now we also have root vegetables. All right, you can call them vegetables. All right, but sweet potatoes, yams, those are very, very good. All right, another good one, which might be a surprise to some people, might not be the favorite for most people. I know squash is kind of a favorite, but the other one would be turnips. And you can always bake them, that's fine. A lot of people will grill them on a barbecue. But if you're eating sweet potatoes, yams, even regular potatoes to a certain extent, but I would always go with the sweet potatoes just because of the increase in micronutrients, the increase in beta carotene, so they're going to have a lot higher antioxidants, which is great for our gut because that's going to reduce inflammation. And then I would also go maybe with like a squash and turnips. Those are going to be great choices, guys. Let me make sure I'm not missing any. Okay, perfect. And let me know what foods you guys are eating, guys. All right, so those would be great ones as well. Now, some people have already mentioned, I can't remember who it is. It might have been Rupal. All right, some people have already mentioned fermented foods. Fermented foods are going to be tremendous at preventing leaky gut syndrome and healing leaky gut syndrome. And the reason why is super high in prebiotics and super high in probiotics. And again, if you're doing that, then you're going to be increasing digestive health, guys. It's super, super important. And I just looked over and we're at 31 thumbs up, guys. We've already reached the goal. Perfect. Maybe we can increase the goal to 40, but thank you so much, guys, for helping me hit that goal today. You guys, like I said, are just crushing the thumbs up right now. So I really, really appreciate it. Thank you so much, guys. So again, let's talk about those fermented foods. Absolutely, absolutely. I would say almost necessary if you want to increase digestive health. Again, you can add those other foods, but if you're adding things like sauerkraut, which might have been mentioned, and kimchi, I think those are the top two. I would stick with those ones, guys. Kimchi, sauerkraut, great source of probiotics, even a little bit of prebiotics. You're getting that 1-2 punch when it comes to those fermented foods. All right, sauerkraut's tremendous. That's why I liked cabbage when we were talking about vegetables. Again, cabbage is going to be a great source of probiotics and just healthy in general. Don't forget, you're getting good fiber with broccoli. You're getting good fiber with beets and things of that nature. You're getting tremendous fiber when it comes to sweet potatoes, squash, yams, and turnips. So that's why I like those as well, guys. It's not just, you're getting great antioxidants to reduce inflammation. You're getting those prebiotics and fiber. Those are probably maybe two of the best ones that you can do, guys. So great. Now let's talk about some of the other ones. All right, let's talk about healthy fats because this might come as a surprise to some people. But I wrote a couple good ones down that I want you guys to sort of keep in mind when it comes to healing leaky gut syndrome. And again, this can all go back to just eating a healthy, well-balanced diet and staying away from those foods that we mentioned that are only going to exacerbate leaky gut syndrome, like your high sodium foods, high sugary foods, foods that are going to cause inflammation, and foods that are devoid of micronutrients. All right, so another healthy fat, I would probably start with this for healthy fats. I would go with avocados, guys. And you guys know I'm a big fan of avocados. I might not eat them all the time. And again, you only have to eat a quarter to half an avocado if you're eating them consistently. If you're eating them consistently, you're going to be getting a good amount of benefits from these healthy fats when it comes to digestive health. Because don't forget, avocados are not only a healthy fat, they have tons of monounsaturated fats in them, which we already know is good for things like digestion, especially good for things like our heart and overall heart health and decreasing the risk of heart disease. So I really love avocados. Again, just like I mentioned with blueberries, I think avocados are a tremendous, tremendous superfood. All right, so keep avocados in mind if you're wanting to add healthy fats. Another one is going to be foods that are rich in omega-3 fatty acids. Now, to get that, I'll start out with if you're eating fish and meat, and then maybe if you're not, maybe you're following a vegan or vegetarian diet, we can talk about some omega-3 foods for you as well. But the easiest way to get omega-3 is always going to be salmon. Mackerel is a huge one, and even sardines. Those are the top 3. You're going to see a list of other ones, but the top 3 are going to be salmon, sardines, mackerel. Now again, you can take an omega-3 fish oil. All right, you can supplement with omega-3, but I think if you are a fan of those types of fish, you can easily get that. Even eggs are going to have that to a certain extent. Not very much. I think it's only like 5%. All right, they have other healthy fats in them, but you can even add those into your diet. Now again, that's going to be for people who, are eating meat, who are eating fish, who are eating dairy products, because eggs are going to be your dairy product. If you don't eat any of those, your next best bet is going to be walnuts. Okay, walnuts have some of the highest omega-3 fatty acids in them. All right, that doesn't come from fish or from meat or anything from that. You'd have to eat a little bit more, but you just need to make sure that you're keeping it in moderation, guys. Keep it in moderation, and then you'll be doing a great job there, getting some of those omega-3 fatty acids. Blackstrap. Deb, when you're referring to Blackstrap, is that Blackstrap Molasses? Just let me know there. Because I do know that there is some good benefits for Blackstrap Molasses. I would just be careful. Some of it can be a little bit high in sugar, because I do know that it's kind of created from a refining process, I believe, with sugar cane. So if you are referring to that, please let me know. Thyroid mucus, Hams, not off the top of my head. That might be something I look into after this, but nothing on the top of my head of thyroid mucus. Hey Kaz, how you doing? Good to see you in chat, and good to see you, Deb, and good to see you, Hams. Hi, would apple cider vinegar be okay? In small amounts, Kaz, I believe that it can be okay. Is it going to help with preventing leaky gut syndrome or healing leaky gut syndrome? Possibly, because it can help. It does sort of have the benefits of reducing bad bacteria. Again, you don't need it in large amounts, right? And you don't even need it every day. But if you're getting that, 100% organic apple cider vinegar, I think a small amount each day is going to, provide benefits for you. I would stick to some of these other ones. I wouldn't put it at the top of my list. All right. But again, apple cider vinegar, that's not to say that apple cider vinegar is bad. Just if it comes to preventing and healing leaky gut syndrome, it just might not be at the top. You can get digestive health benefits from it. So that's working for it as well. All right. And that can give you good benefits when it comes to leaky gut syndrome. I just wouldn't put it at the top. But again, a little bit each day. You don't have to overdo it. It can certainly help with digestion. Now let's talk a little bit about some of the things that you guys were bringing up with bone broth. I think bone broth is a great one, guys. Some people mentioned bone broth before. As I said, we were going to get to it. I think bone broth is a great one for you guys. If you wanted to help heal and prevent leaky gut syndrome, bone broth is something that you can definitely enjoy, and it's becoming more and more popular, guys. Just make sure that if you are having bone broth, you can make your own at home or you can purchase it. Just make sure there's no preservatives added to it. Sometimes they'll throw extra stuff in there for taste. Just stick to the all natural organic bone broth. All right, and you're going to be doing yourself a great favor. Now another great one is going to be kombucha. All right, so another beverage would be kombucha. And why? Because it's high in probiotics, a little bit high in prebiotics as well. Kaz, you're very welcome. My pleasure. All right, with Blackstrap Molasses, Deb, I don't know if I would specifically recommend Blackstrap Molasses. Yes, it has good benefits to it. I know bone health is even one of them. It's just a little bit high in sugar, and I haven't seen any literature which shows that it can help prevent, certain digestive ailments. So I'm not even talking about healing or preventing leaky gut syndrome. I just haven't read too much on its ability to help reduce digestive ailments. So just keep that in mind as well, guys. All right. So bone broth is good. Kombucha is a great one. And I don't think you can go wrong with certain teas. I would stick with the bone broth, though, and the kombucha. Again, like I mentioned right off the top, I think water is going to be one of your best friends as well. Why? Because water is going to help with the flushing out of toxins and bacteria. So keep that in mind as well, guys. Now, one more that I'll throw in there for the dairy products. We talked about yogurt. We talked about Greek yogurt. All right, one other one is going to be kefir, guys. Not everyone's a huge fan of that, but if you do enjoy kefir, I think that's going to be a great one for you, and I think that's something that you can enjoy. All right, and it's going to give you great digestive benefits, and it can help prevent and heal leaky gut syndrome as well. So kefir would be another one, guys. Now, as we always do, I like to talk a little bit about nuts and seed varieties. Let's specifically talk about nut varieties right now. And again, let's keep them raw. One great one, which you always hear me talk about, and again, it's going to be another superfood, is almonds. All right, almonds, super high in fiber and protein, which is going to be great for our digestive system. The other important thing is it's high in antioxidants and super high in micronutrients, which is great because if we're super high in micronutrients, that's only going to help with gut health, and it's going to help eliminate those the bacteria, the toxins, things of that nature. That's where the fiber comes in. So almonds are a good one. I think if I was going to recommend another one, I don't think you can go wrong with walnuts because you're going to get those healthy omega-3s. Maybe I'll throw another one in there because I had already mentioned it. I think maybe peanuts would be a good one. If you're a seed fan like I am, pumpkin seeds are going to be a good one. All right, pumpkin seeds are going to be a great one for you guys. You can never go wrong with pumpkin seeds. Carol, your first time live. Well, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us live today. I really appreciate it. I hope you're having a great Saturday so far. And Deb, my pleasure. Use it sporadically? Yeah, if you're using it sporadically, absolutely. Anything in moderation, guys. All right, keep it in moderation. I think you guys will do yourself a big service if you're doing that. So no problem, Deb. My pleasure. Okay, so again, we already know the foods to avoid, guys. Super simple. All right. Another one that I might throw in there, all right, is probably your one thing that is maybe a little bit surprising to some, but if you are dealing with leaky gut symptoms already, and if you're really trying to prevent, I would just be careful of artificial sweeteners, things like aspartame. All right, things like aspartame, you're going to want to be a little bit careful of. All right, so watch out for that. We already talked about a lot of them, so I'll move on from that, guys. And again, if you have any questions, keep them coming. And thank you so much for the 36 thumbs up, guys. Really appreciate you. All right, so some more. We already talked about the prebiotics. Let's go, even with fruits. We talked a little bit about fruits, guys, but I know there's a lot of... Oh, great, Carol. I'm glad that you're finding it helpful then. Thank you so much. So another one that I would sort of focus on here, guys, for fruits, all right, again, bananas. Why? Because they're rich in soluble fiber. And if you're eating those unripe green bananas, then you're going to be increasing resistant starch, which can help pass through the small intestine, reach the colon, where they can be fermented, and, we can increase gut microflora. So I think bananas are a good one. Another good one, of course, blueberries, which we mentioned. Another good one, though, and I know people are fans of this, are apples and pears. I think if you're increasing apples and pears, you're doing yourself a good service because they're very, very high in fiber. Some of the highest fiber fruits that we can eat. And they're low GI as well, so they're not super high in sugars. You guys know that I'm a big fan of high fiber fruits. All right. No, does that mean that I would never suggest mango, pineapple, tropical fruits? Absolutely not. Perhaps kiwi would be a nice one for you. All right. Super dense in nutrients. All right. Good antioxidants, so reducing inflammation throughout the digestive system. All right, I would just rather prefer the blueberries, maybe the bananas, apples, and pears. Let's keep it to that. Okay, guys. We already know, like I said, broccoli. One other one. I gave you sunflower seeds, guys. Sauerkraut, absolutely. All right, when we talked about fermented foods, Ian, I think sauerkraut was probably going to be at the top, along with kimchi and things of that nature. So absolutely, sauerkraut is a great one. Now, one other one which we didn't talk about, we talked about nuts and seeds. I think one more seed for you guys would be something along the lines of flax seeds. And that's backed up by a bunch of different research, a bunch of different studies. Okay, now why is flaxseed good? Flaxseed has a ton of fiber in it. I would go sort of with the grounded up flaxseed, much easier to add into the diet. You can add it to oatmeal, you can add it to a bunch of different recipes. All right. Does it have to be fermented? No, probably not, because you're going to get the benefits of the flaxseed anyway. All right, and it's going to help increase overall gut health. It's going to help increase good bacteria in the gut. All right, but flaxseed can be another good one for you guys. Keep flaxseed high if you can. Again, tremendous fiber, and it can even add a little bit of probiotics, prebiotics into your diet as well, which is only going to increase gut health. Now I see we have 39 thumbs up. We are almost at that 40. Thank you so much, guys. I really appreciate it. Now, before I end the stream here, we had to end just a little bit earlier today. Keep in mind, guys, do you need to add all of these foods, all of these fruits, vegetables? We've gone over everything. Dairy, nuts and seeds, vegetables. Do you have to add that all at once? Absolutely not. Little by little, you can start to add that in. Remember, when it comes to vegetables, you hear so much about dark leafy green vegetables and, cruciferous vegetables. Again, I would recommend stick to colors, all right? Beets, carrots, things of that nature. I think if you're doing that, you certainly can't go wrong. And just enjoy your vegetables. Just make sure, guys, if you are doing this and you are adding these foods in, make sure that you're reducing those other foods that we said to stay away from. Because if you aren't doing that, you aren't going to maximize the benefits of adding these healthy digestive foods in there. If you're eating a bunch of sugar, like excess sugar, excess alcohol, it's not going to lead to much benefit at all. All right, and it's certainly not going to prevent or heal leaky gut syndrome. So again, guys, we know leaky gut syndrome is on the rise. Make sure that you're eating a well-balanced diet. Try to get as much fiber, as much probiotics as you can. If you can, try to make the lifestyle changes that we talked about. Try to reduce stress, reduce anxiety. Eat foods that are high in antioxidants. That's why I like the berries so much. They have some of the highest antioxidant capacity. I think if you're doing that, then you're going to have a great chance at helping to prevent leaky gut syndrome and even heal leaky gut syndrome symptoms. Greetings from Atlanta. Thank you so much. Safi. Thank you so much, Safi. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. It's great to have you in chat. Great to have Atlanta in here. So like I said, people from all over the world listening in right now. So again, appreciate everyone. Appreciate all of you. If I can, I'll try to get on tomorrow. We'll see. Tomorrow is a little bit of a toss-up right now. I didn't want to rush this one. We were a little bit more rushed. Thank you so much for the 42 thumbs up, guys. I really appreciate you. I hope you were able to take a little bit from this discussion today. Take some of the foods that we discussed. And the thing that I like about today's discussion is we went over a whole variety of foods. It wasn't just adding high fiber foods. All right. It was foods that were high in probiotics, foods that could decrease inflammation, foods that are going to help reduce constipation and things of that nature, and foods that are going to help with improving regularity. All right, I think that's all good stuff if you're trying to prevent and heal leaky gut syndrome. San Diego, CA, thank you, Carol. That's awesome. Early there for you, I believe. Fairly early there for you, I believe. So thank you so much for joining me today. So we'll leave it at that, guys. Thank you so much for stopping in. Like I said, I really, really appreciate the support. Give the Barley video a watch if you haven't seen it. I think you guys will find that interesting. Lots of jam-packed information in that video, which I think you guys will appreciate it. And thank you so much for the support. Like I said, I try to get on here at least once a week. If I can get on here tomorrow, then I definitely will. That'll give us our 2 times. But at least 1 time a week, guys, you can find me on the stream. I love being able to interact with you one-on-one. I think that's amazing. That way I can answer your questions in real time as well. And we can go over some of the pros and cons of some of the foods that you guys throw at me. So, is ringing of the ears due to leaky gut syndrome? Never heard of that, Brenda, to be honest. That's something you might want to talk with your medical practitioner about, but I've never really heard the symptom connected to ringing of the ears. Does that mean it's not possible? Absolutely not. I just haven't read anything on that. But I would definitely talk with your medical practitioner if you are dealing with that. Absolutely. So thank you for the question. Narissa, watching from BVI. Awesome. Thank you so much. I appreciate you watching. And I appreciate everyone else who was in there. Thank you, Sonia. I really appreciate the comment. I hope you guys took a lot out of this. Again, we were a little bit more rushed today, but we got it in. I just wanted to make sure because I know tomorrow might be a toss-up. So definitely wanted to get the chat in. I always look forward to them, and thank you so much, guys, for the support. It's always greatly appreciated. So our next chat will come up with another great idea, something that you guys will find not only interesting but also helpful that you can use in your everyday life. And again, I always love when you guys ask your questions. There's no wrong questions. You can always ask them, and I'm happy to answer them for you. So thank you so much, guys. Again, I'll try to get on tomorrow. If not, there's going to be a foods video going up regardless, just like the barley video went up today. But if I'm not on, make sure you watch out for that video. So thank you so much, guys. Appreciate all of you. You guys have a great Saturday. If I don't get to talk to you tomorrow, have a great weekend. And again, look out for those videos that are going to be coming out. So thank you so much, guys. Enjoy your day,